It's been dubbed Canada's tallest riding. About 70% of residents of Spadina-Fort York are condo dwellers. This is also a riding to watch because of its two front runners, the Liberal incumbent, Adam Vaughan.
I'm running so you don't have to run for streetcars. Thanks a lot.
And running for the NDP, the former Member of Parliament and widow of Jack Layton, Olivia Chow.
How are you? Hey. Hope I can count your support. Of course. Thank you. I like the of course part.
This is Old Fort York. It was the scene of a decisive battle in the War of 1812. Well, now this landmark will witness another historic fight, the battle between Chow and Vaughan. It will be a fight to the finish. What's going on in Spadina-Fort York?
Well, it's the clash of the titans, I guess you could say. Spadina-Fort York is the battleground of two major significant candidates. It's the heavyweight championship in a sense. Perhaps maybe in the country. It's hard to think of another constituency that has two more high-profile, important candidates to their respective parties than Spadina-Fort York, because of course the incumbent is Adam Vaughan, who's regarded as a leading light of urban thinking, of a leader of the party in Toronto, and then of course Olivia Chow, who has such a long and distinguished record and tradition, and her connection to the party, her connection to Jack Layton, who is such a strong, almost iconic political figure. So this is center stage. This is Game 7 of the championship final, this race here in downtown Toronto in their riding.
What's it like to run against Olivia Chow?
I've run against the NDP in every election I've won. Her machine in particular. It's not that much different. I mean, it's you know, the interesting thing here is the first time I've run against someone who's also held elected office. That's the real difference. I think I've got a record. I think Olivia Chow has a record of building a party. My record is building a city.
How does it feel to run against Adam Vaughan?
Hey, I ran in this area many, many years, represented 90% of the people as the MP for 8 years, and so they know that I work hard, and they know that I know their neighborhood and connect them with between the city, their neighborhood, and the House of Commons.
The Conservative candidate is Sabrina Zuniga. Traditionally, her party has not done well in downtown Toronto.
You are going to the game tonight?
I am going to the game tonight, yeah.
Have fun.
Thanks very much. Good luck with the election.
Thank you very much.
I hope you win.
Thanks.
Take care.
I hope so too.
Okay.
What's it like to run against two such prominent candidates?
Well, it makes people curious who the Conservative is. So it actually raises all of us and makes people like yourselves wanting to come and talk to me and interview me. The Conservatives are always here. The Conservatives have always been downtown. We just are not as loud.
And Green Party candidate Sharon Danley is also in the race.
I've been advocating for most of my life for social justice for people with disabilities, equality, housing, and sexual abuse.
Okay.
So I figured I may as well put it with a party that, or whose values I align with.
What are people in this riding saying about immigration?
Immigration is probably the most broken system at the federal level. Their family reunification in particular is just non-existent. It's almost cruel how it plays out. Reforming the immigration system, making sure we step up on the Syrian refugee file. These are things that built Toronto, built Canada, and I think that the people in this riding are a product of that sort of open-mindedness and that sort of clarity around how we settle people in this country, how we utilize the talents they bring to this country, and how we build a stronger Toronto with the differences in spite of them. And so on immigration, people want reform. They want speed and clarity in the system. They want fairness and humanitarian values to be respected, and we haven't had that under the Harper government. Their policies have punished families, and people are looking for change.
I hear all kinds of positive responses to the government's new policies, for instance, to respect Canadians who are here and to carefully evaluate the new Canadians that we want to bring in, or the new immigrants that we want to bring in. Initially, people were hesitant with why Canada seems to be slowed down in accepting all of the Syrian refugees specifically. But then as the more information came out, especially from Europe, and exactly what the migration is happening, and then our government reevaluated how we can speed things up.
The refugee crisis in Syria and in Europe is bringing back some memories for you. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I attended my first rally in 1979, and it was for the Vietnamese boat people. And I joined in Operation Lifeline and changed my career from an artist to be a community worker to serve the people that have landed in Canada, the boat people. And I discovered that when people come together, they can influence the government. And that year, we brought in 60,000 Vietnamese and Cambodian, Laos boat people to Canada. So we did it then. We can do it now. We can do it again. All it takes is a new government. A new NDP government will bring in 10,000 refugees before the end of the year, and we will provide humanitarian aid to those that are in refugees camps so they're not as desperate. We would get immigration officers right there to do the screening of the refugees and be able to expedite them to get to Canada so they're not mired in red tape.
Olivia Chow had the broad support of the Chinese community in past elections, but the redrawn riding excludes portions of Chinatown and the Grange district, which could erode her power base.
Her roots are really much more in street neighborhoods of strong, connected sense of neighborhood engagement, commitment to local community. In that wall of condominiums that are down by the waterfront, it's a more kind of isolated kind of style of living. There's not as much of a sense of neighborliness. It's a much more one-dimensional demographic.
The condo towers in Spadina-Fort York are populated by mostly single people or couples without children. How do you sell your $15 a day daycare plan to people who don't really have children?
They want to have kids. They're getting married. They have their fiance. Last night I had someone say, "Hey, we're getting married. Meet my fiance, right?" And then they asked me about the $15 a day childcare plan, and for 1 million kids. And those that have kids shake their head and say, "Oh my God, it is so expensive right now. Even if we can afford it, it's really difficult for us to find it, right? Because there's long wait lists. It takes a year and a half at least." And I remind them that both the Liberals and the Conservative, not even talking about childcare, both Liberal and Conservative right now wants to give them a tax cuts, but that wouldn't help them with getting more childcare spaces. And also, I remind them that the Liberals have promised a national childcare program in 93 and 97, in 2000. There's like 13 years of empty promises and didn't get it done.
The NDP plan, which is the one that we hear about, doesn't arrive for 8 years. It doesn't arrive unless the provinces kick in $3 billion. It doesn't promise new spaces. It promises to maintain existing spaces and reconfigure how you pay for it. A lot of the families in this riding that have children work on contract in the broadcast industry, and they don't work 9 to 5. And the one-size-fits-all policy that arrives in 8 years that relies on provincial funding is not going to deliver real daycare. Our program is different. We put infrastructure dollars into building new daycares, because if you're going to add new spaces, you've got to build the space first. And the second thing we've committed to do is to sit down with the provinces within the first 100 days and deliver a national daycare program, much like the one we had in place when the NDP defeated the Martin government and tore it up. And the hope here is that we fund daycare, but we don't tell provinces how to deliver it, because every province has a different system.
A lot of people who don't have kids understand that this is our future, that these are the new Canadians. We have to respect and support all the parents who are out there raising kids. Our policy allows for parents' choice. So if there's a parent who would like to stay home, and we respect that, it's not a zero-sum game. to say one parent would like to stay home with their child.
I'm lucky that I don't have a car here, thank goodness, and I guess I'd like to see some more money being put into the transportation system here for guys like me that walk and commute everywhere.
I get around on transit. The streetcars are appalling. We don't have enough new ones.
All the candidates agree that the main issues in this crowded downtown riding are traffic and transit.
The King streetcar, I mean, I live along King Street. I watch 5 streetcars go by every morning while I try to get to my constituency office, and I have to end up walking or taking a bike because the service isn't there. And when I see Mulcair and Harper embrace the smart track or embrace Rob Ford's subway plan because they want votes elsewhere in the city, when they come downtown, they're not going to provide the service that people in this riding need. I'm going to do that with the program that I've been recruited by Justin Trudeau to put together. A transit program that works at City Hall the day after the election. We start flowing money immediately, and that money is not tied to big projects. It's tied to better transit.
Give me an example.
Well, state of good repair. Our money flows in the first budget. It's a top-up of well over $1 billion to transit officials above and beyond the existing expenditures. And it arrives at City Hall without a requirement that it be attached to a new project so you can cut a ribbon. It arrives at City Hall as transit money.
The NDP will have a 20-year long-term funding of $12.9 billion just in GTA alone. And we would present with a legislative framework of the National Transit Strategy. And what that does is that provide the funding in a per capita or by ridership way, which means that if you have a lot of riders in an area, you get more funding. And by doing that, it's predictable. Because it is predictable, then the transit experts can actually plan.
And you would do this and balance the budget.
Absolutely, because think about this. The National Transit Strategy I've already presented in the House of Commons. It's only Stephen Harper that stood in the way and voted against it. Big city mayors, the FCM all support, and they say they need a national transit strategy, so the funding is predictable. Not project by project, because if it's project by project, partisan interest gets into it. Okay, and NDP is the only party that talks about transit strategy, long-term funding, and predictable, stable, non-partisan funding. And absolutely, yes, we can balance the budget because that's who we are.
What do you say to people who say, what are you guys doing about the traffic and the lack of transit?
We have invested record amounts in infrastructure. The Union Station that you see over here, the Government of Canada invested and helped to rebuild a lot of that. The new streetcars that you see, the Government of Canada is a partner in bringing those new streetcars to us. Pledged money for John Tory's Smart Track. So there's a constant flux of infrastructure funds that come in. It's up to the province and to the city to figure out where they want this and then present the ideas to the federal government.
With the explosion of condos, the infrastructure isn't keeping up with it. And it's just horrendous. Traveling to and from work, those hours are really, really bad. And, older streetcars where it's hard for the disabled and elderly people to get up and down. And the gridlock, it's making people so irritated and frustrated. I'm looking at making more accountability happen, because it's one thing to throw money into something, but if we're not accounting for that money, we're not seeing how it's spent, it's not transparent, we have problems.
The economy, it's so hard for everyone my age to get good jobs. Everyone I know is broke but working really hard, so that's a big issue for us.
Well, I'm self-employed, so that's been a solution for me, but I know a lot of my friends are looking for work, yeah.
And what's that like for them?
Well, it's difficult, again, especially when you're, coming out of graduate school, etc. You need money to pay off your loans and to start a life, and it's definitely difficult if you don't have a job.
What do you say to the young people in this riding about jobs and the economy?
Well, I tell them that I'm here to champion research and innovation. Again, teaching science and teaching biology and chemistry in high school, this is a natural for me. It's my background. And this is where the jobs are going to come. In this area, in all these condos, downtown, you see the energy of people that are here. There's so many of the younger demographic who really want to do something amazing with their careers. So that's what I'm here to continue what the government is doing.
A lot of the people that live in this riding are focused, take the streetcar to King and Bay, and they go into those bank towers, and they know that if there's a significant downturn in the economy, if the recession deepens, their prospects for employment disappear with that deepening recession. So the fact that Stephen Harper has stalled the economy, and the fact that he has had a great deal of difficulty balancing budgets without making investments means that the tax cuts he's offering don't apply to these folks. It means that the transit these folks get doesn't get funded. And when you see Mulcair say we'll get to those issues later, we're going to balance the budget first, they see two politicians who are trying to appease the talk show radio hosts, not deal with the economic needs of this country. So a strong investment in infrastructure buoys the whole economy, strengthens the fabric of this country, builds stronger cities, but also gives people confidence that the future has a set of opportunities for them.
I'm hearing a lot of them saying, my gosh, we have a big student debt. Our jobs are not very stable. When I mention the federal minimum wage of $15 an hour, they go, wow, okay, this is good. We need that, okay? We need the federal government to set a standard, $15 minimum wage. Because after they pay rent, there's not a lot of money left because rent is so high. I also talk about the 40,000 paid internship and cooperative programs so that they could start their career. They go, wow, paid internship. They welcome that. And I talk about the importance of the NDP plan to lower the small business tax from 11 to 9%, and therefore the small businesses would have a bit of money to hire more people.
And then there's the issue of voter apathy.
I don't care about any of it.
You're not going to vote?
No, it doesn't do anything. If it did something, I would.
We just wondered what people cared about.
I don't care about politics.
You don't?
No.
You're not going to vote?
Not at all.
Many young people simply aren't engaged in this campaign. Are there any issues that concern you?
I haven't been following the politics at all, so I have no idea what's going on.
I'm not one to ask.
Yeah.
Are you in one of these condos?
I'm actually on Clarence Square, which is like King and Spadina. So a little further. It's in the area.
So say for some of the tall condos, the polling station's in the building.
Oh, I didn't know.
So they make it as easy for you as possible.
Exactly. That's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great. So when is the voting actually?
The vote date is October 19th.
Okay.
A lot of young people don't vote. How are you dealing with that? Getting the young people to vote?
I have found a lot of energy with people very interested to vote. And so all I can do is be friendly, and I encourage them to vote. I tell them I really, really hope that you vote. When I was an undergrad and I was active in politics, one of the things that I did was create a voter registration drive on my campus. I've always been, let's get people voting. Now, on my campus, some people would say, well, I'm not in your party. And I say, look, I'm never going to know. I just want you to vote.
Lack of affordable housing is also a hot-button issue in Spadina-Fort York.
This city is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. So it's only going up, and finding a solution for that would be a great thing if that's possible. But
do you have any idea who you're going to vote for?
Oh, I have no idea. Still figuring that one out.
What are you saying to people who say they can't afford rent, home ownership in downtown Toronto?
I agree with them. And one of it is the result of 20 years of no or very little affordable housing being built. And I remember really clearly the Liberal government of the time, in the mid-90s, canceled the National Affordable Housing Program.
Okay, but that was 20 years ago. So what's happening now?
Well, as a result, 20 years, there's no affordable housing really being built. Maybe a few units here and there, but there hasn't been a program at all. So there's very few supplies, there's few affordable housing. That's why the market is skewed, and as a result, there's a lot of very expensive condos, and you have to rent them. and it's really unaffordable. So we're saying that we will build 10,000 units of affordable housing first year, and we will also invest $2 billion for the next few years to fix the existing affordable housing.
If the housing market collapses, it's going to hit condo owners first, and it's going to wipe out their savings and their equity. If it doesn't do that, interest rates will start to go up to protect the housing market. And if that happens, mortgage rates will double, and suddenly people living in what is housing which is affordable will suddenly see that housing become unaffordable. And so you need a federal government that can do more than just talk about public housing. We commit, again, $20 billion to get housing built again, and also to get private rental housing built, and also assist first-time home buyers, but also look at ways to stabilize speculation so we stabilize the housing market. We're the only party that's put forth a complete housing program that deals with the full spectrum of housing needs. And in this riding, with a lot of young first-time condo owners going to the ballot box, they know if they vote Liberal, they have a party that not only will be represented by somebody who lives in a condo, but we'll be watching that market very carefully to make sure we don't destroy people's lives as we gamble with the housing market, which is what Stephen Harper is currently doing, which the NDP has no intention of even addressing. So our policy is actually tailored to deal with neighborhoods like the one I represent, like the one I live in, which is to deal with the condominium market as well as adding affordable housing, protecting the co-ops, and building supportive housing. It's the full spectrum of housing needs.
So the government has put forth a number of different policies to help with anybody who wants to purchase a home, such as increasing the home buyers plan, increasing the amount for TFSAs. Keeping interest rates low is a very big part of it.
The future of the CBC also directly affects this particular riding. What would the Liberals do about the CBC?
We had an announcement in Montreal just a couple of days ago. I worked at the CBC. For me, it's not just a great public broadcaster and an important forum for Canadians to talk to each other. It's a place where people work and support families, in particular in the riding I represent. So the CBC is, yes, a profoundly important national broadcaster. Its independence needs to be protected. It can't have political appointees that mess with its mandate, deliberately undermining its success. That's been the Conservative record.
I think the CBC has a valuable addition to add to our country with the programming that they have. But again, as a government corporation, they have to stay profitable. It's really difficult in the world where, again, like you say, a lot of people have cell phones and that's how they get their information. And so the days of just watching TV with a few channels, those days are over. There's now this huge assortment of channels one can watch. And so the new models of how TVs, all different channels are dealing with that. This is the change that we see.
I said, yeah, it's time to restore CBC funding. They are a voice, part of our voices, and we need public broadcasters. I woke up this morning listening to CBC.
Spadina-Fort York also has a wide expanse of the waterfront within its borders. It includes Billy Bishop Airport on the Toronto Islands, which is looking to expand to jet service.
The airport itself is a vital economic hub for this city. All kinds of individuals who live down in this area really depend on that island airport, and so that I can say.
Would you expand it?
Again, I can't comment on that because it's under the regulatory process right now, and I can't interfere with that.
What are you hearing about the environment and the waterfront?
No jets, no jets, no jets. We have not only the population that live here, there's also the visitors, there's the fowl and the wildlife that all have to be taken into consideration. And when they're looking at corporatizing the waterfront, we have a big problem. I understand wanting to make a little more money at something, but people and wildlife come first.
I changed Liberal policy. I was very proud to do that with regards to the waterfront and reverted it back to where it was in 1974 when a guy called Pierre Trudeau walked in Toronto and delivered Harbourfront. We need a clean, green waterfront, a place to live, work, and play.
Climate change is also of concern to the residents here.
Young people really care about the environment. Well, we should all care about the environment. And we, the NDP, has a very different policy than the Liberals. We say no to Keystone Pipeline because it's shipping raw bitumen and jobs down to the U.S.
A lot of people would like to see the pipeline get going and go through because it is a safer method than putting them on trains, for instance. And I come back to my interest in technology and innovation. We have the technology and to keep the pipeline safe, to cut off if anything is going to spill. Oil is a natural substance, so spilling into the environment, the land will absorb it, because that's what oil is. It's just when there's too much at once, that's when the difficulty comes in.
One challenge all of the candidates face is tracking voters who are rarely home and don't have a landline. How do you reach those voters if they all live in condos and they're all at Bay and King for the whole day?
Well, you saw me this morning whistle stopping. You'll see me later this afternoon catching them as they come home. You'll see me at the dog parks. You have to catch them where they socialize. And I live in a condominium. You don't use a condominium for a living the same way you use a house. You don't entertain in the backyard of a condo. You go to the local pub. And so you gather where people gather. How are you? I'm your member of Parliament, Adam Vaughan, running for re-election. Thanks. I live on a condo at King and Stafford. Okay. I watch 5 streetcars every morning, so I went to Ottawa to get the money out of the Liberal Party to build better transit systems. Okay. That's the $60 billion commitment. Very good. Adam Vaughan, to get better transit faster with the Liberals.
Great, thanks.
Good to see you.
Is it ready to kick some blue ass?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks a lot. I'm running, so you don't have to run for the streetcar.
Thank you.
There you go.
Olivia Chow. How are you? Do you live in the neighborhood?
I do, yeah.
That's our better transit plan. Yeah, I know. We had a conversation, yeah. Anyway, enjoy breakfast. I'll leave that for you. Have you made a decision?
No, still deciding.
Okay, I'll leave that for you. Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, enjoy breakfast. Take care. Bye-bye.
I don't trust anybody but Harper. So if these other 2 clowns get in, I might have to reconsider my residency.
Well, we are working very hard to make sure that that doesn't happen and you can stay here. I hope that you do vote. I really hope that you do. Okay. You can look over who I am and why I'm running and then give me a question anytime.
Okay, sounds good.
What are you going to bring under the table?
So my passion is research and innovation.
Well, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Wish you the best. I hope you win.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
NDP leader Tom Mulcair took a bit of flack when he announced that Toronto was Canada's most important city. Well, if that's true, then the race in the riding of Spadina-Fort York, which encompasses the city's iconic skyline, must be the most important in the country. I'm Laura Di Battista for CPAC.